Hi. I'm calling Al Bob. Praise Jesus. Dooga dooga day. No. No. Hi. Look, no bunnies. I shipped the bunnies to Danica and the kids in Texas. See? Hopefully, they'll be stars of her videos.
Thank you for calling and everything you do. Just take a little love, and you can get through it. Whenever there's a problem, just say, Lord, I don't have a clue. Take the wheel. Thank you for calling. At the beep, you know what to do.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Al. It's John. Okay, I'm going to ask you if you want to do this. You want to go to Los Angeles and be really big movie stars, big time movie stars, like the old days movie stars, real movie stars, actors. You want to? I was watching a video on YouTube, a video, how everyone makes a video. They pick up their iPhone and press record, and that's the quality of the video, It's like not really that difficult for anyone to do. However, Ayla is really good at making videos, and she's only 8. It's really a miracle. But and you're good at doing storytelling. You're a genius at storytelling. You're really good at storytelling. You're really good at storytelling. About as good as I am at like screenwriting and filmmaking. And I was watching a video on YouTube of a TV show. It was really a TV show of Columbo or something like that from the 1980s or 1960s. And he walked through, and he was a lead actor, and they had all the extras sitting there. And I remember being on set when I was a really young man. I was an extra on big budget movies, and there's nothing like a real big budget studio movie, like not big budget, but even a $3 million one that's a studio movie that's comparatively a big budget. But as a film producer myself, and who's done film production myself, I know what they call the budgets. 3 million is not considered big budget. I think 40 million is big budget, or nowadays it may be 100 million. And anything under $1 million is considered like low budget or something. No budget is under 100,000. And I studied filmmaking and went to a real film school, and I worked on real movies in Los Angeles and made my own movies and stuff. But the really big budget movies, the real movies with a first AD, first assistant director, a second AD, the electric department, the grip, the electric. You want to go be a real movie star and actors in movies. You want to act in movies in Los Angeles with me? Okay, bye.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message. If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, to send your message with normal delivery, press 1. To send your message with urgent delivery, press thank you. Your message has been sent.
Okay. Bye. Praise Jesus. Okay. Here's how a real Hollywood movie is different from what you may not know how it is. I'm a real filmmaker. I do film production. I understand the production side of the business, of the film business, the movie business, the entertainment business, showbiz. Now, it's not just the cool watching cool music and pretending that, like watching 1940s things and thinking that that's how it is. Like you get to act however you feel like you show up, like you just walk in front of camera and act however you feel. That's not how it is. There is real work behind making movies. There is real work behind making movies. It starts with pre-production, a screenplay. And before you write the actual screenplay, it all starts with an idea for a movie. You get an idea, you can option another person's original idea, like a story in a newspaper or a news article online. Wherever you get the idea from, try to make an original idea, or like they do in Hollywood now, they use DC Comics and Marvel Comics, DC, whatever their company is called, and they use some of those characters and stories that were already created in other forms of media, like I was saying, news, or it could also be in a comic book or a book, a novel. You can adapt a novel into a screenplay if you're an independent screenwriter, or you can just work for the movie companies who do all the production side of it, and they say, we want to adapt this novel, and then they option the rights to use the author's ideas for whoever wrote that book, like maybe your favorite book. You can make a movie on the Bible, the story of Jesus, or a trilogy, or 100 movies on the actual Bible with real dialogue from the Bible. That's a good idea. You'd have to think about what order the movies would be in. How God started by creating the heavens and the earth. Genesis. It's the beginning of the Bible, I think. And you have to think about what order you want to put this stuff in. Starting with maybe Adam and Eve, when God, or before there were humans, God created light. And you can make Bible movies. The thing about the Hollywood movies that I miss, that I'd like to not miss, that I'd like to be doing, is the real professional production. Once you have a screenplay written that's really good, then you go into pre-production. And a screenplay, when you're writing the screenplay or obtaining a screenplay that someone wrote as a producer or director, working with the producers, a director may want to look for a screenwriter to work with, but generally the producer is the one who finds the screenplay, or hires a screenwriter, or hires a team of screenwriters in a development office or development department at a major studio. I was an intern at one of those at Universal Studios, and they had just discovered The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who was a big wrestling star, and their first big movie that they produced for him was The Scorpion King. And I was going to work on the movie, and I quit the internship because it was too many hours drive commute. It was 6 or 7 hours drive just to the internship, then full-time internship, then full-time immersion program at a film school, and I wasn't supposed to be working that hard. It was too hard to do, and I was staying in the corner of my friend's my friend and his wife's one-bedroom apartment, and it felt so difficult. That's when I had to get on medicine to help me to keep working and not quit the. I would never have quit the school. And I went to Chapman University, and I learned about film production. I got an MFA from there. I had a scholarship to attend, and I also went to LMU in Los Angeles. So here's the thing on a movie set that I miss. It's not like making a video. There's a method, there's a way to actually make real Hollywood movies. Like when they get to that, okay, through pre-production, they look for funding. They get locations where they're going to film. They secure locations. They may have a locations manager. Usually there's a locations manager. That's a job title on a big budget movie or a regular Hollywood studio movie or independent movie that's done right, like the studios do it, that's done righteously and done good, like the studios do it. There's a locations manager who looks for the location to film at that's in the screenplay. Or if it's not at a location, it's filmed on a soundstage. Those are the two kinds of filming that you do. At a location, on location, it's called on location when they're filming the actual movie, or a set, which is at a soundstage, a set built location that looks like, it's not really a location. It looks like a location, but it's not a location. The location is a pre-existing house or somewhere where they film that's already a place, and they get the rights to, or they ask them if it's okay to film there, and they fill out a locations permit, and the owner of the place gives them permission to film there, and they let them film the movie there, and they pay them money, or sometimes they let them film without paying money. And that's how a movie is made. I should probably get up and do a workout. So the kind of work that I did was screenwriting, film editing, stuff like that, where you're in front of a computer or sitting down and writing on paper the screenplay or the original idea that, well, the most original one is God, not original sin. That's the devil. God created everything. He's the most original one of anyone. So always make sure with what you're doing to do everything for God and Jesus. Okay. For God. Praise God. God in everything you do. God first in everything you do. Hi. So, this sucks in here. It's getting hot. I gotta turn the air conditioning on. $68. So when they're actually filming a movie, once they do all the pre-production, also in pre-production they look for all the, they get ready to do the set design if there's a set. They look for all the props that have to be in front of camera. They look for all the actors. They talk to actors and they start rehearsals. Or sometimes they don't rehearse. They do storyboards. The director does storyboards, like they draw out what it looks like that they're gonna film. They do make a shot list at least. A shot list, that's a simple thing that I had, and also storyboards for some of my movies when we filmed more complicated things. When I filmed it with a crew, with a regular film crew. One time I had a union crew that I hired for one of my feature films I filmed in Los Angeles. It was a $155,000 budget. At the time, it was an $80,000 budget, but I filmed it 20 years ago. 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 20 when I was in my 20s, I made a real movie with me as the lead actor when I was a student at Chapman University. I filmed on a soundstage, on locations near Malibu. I filmed on a real location. And you get the location's permits. You get a permit to film. And you get the rights from the owner of the house to film. Sometimes you don't need a permit. I almost made my movie SAG. As a producer, I know how to make the movie SAG. You talk with SAG, see what their various kinds of SAG movies that you can film. SAG signatory, indie or low budget, and various things does not necessarily mean the budget of the film. It's the kinds of various SAG movies you can make depending on what your budget is. Do you want to pay all the actors SAG minimum, or do you want to pay them more than that? And I think you have to pay them at least SAG minimum, all the actors. And to get really big budget funding, you have to look for funding, and you can look for grants in various places. Unless you're doing a real studio movie, then the studios fund the thing, and you bring them your screenplay and you try to get it produced by them. And this is how you make a movie. But on set of a real movie is way different from this film and video stuff with me talking. When you film a real movie, and during production, it's called, there's pre-production, production, and post-production. During production is when they film the real movie. That's one of the most important parts of making a movie, is actually filming it. Maybe the most important, because it actually gets filmed. During production, it's amazing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle because there's the production staff. There's a unit production manager and line producer. Unit production manager, who's head of the production team. Well, they answer to the producer or the producers. And the producers may work for the studios. And sometimes there are indie movies that are filmed really professionally, like a studio movie films. And there's more. So when you're on a set, they typically had what was called a Nagra, and it recorded sound, all the sound for a movie. They had a boom mic operator, or various boom mic operators that they'd later sync the sound that was recorded onto the Nagra film, a little reel-to-reel thing that they used on movies. When I was in film school and I was working on movies in the later 90s, when I was 19, 20, and 21, I think. I was about 20. And they also used a DAT recorder back then. And now I think they sync the sound to the picture while they're filming, because they have 4K or 8K or 6K or 20K, or who knows, it may go up to 10K, not 20K, but really good quality video cameras that look like film now, so they can record the sound onto the actual video they're filming, and they don't have to sync it up later, or they can sync it up later, and it's called syncing the dailies. If they sync up the sound later to the picture, and that's why they used a clapboard. It goes, it has that little. They have that little clapboard, and it has the scene number. It has the name of the movie, the director, sometimes the camera operator, the scene number, like 23A. How many takes they're doing? Take 1, take 2, take 3, and the script supervisor or clapboard person tells the clapboard person, the script supervisor says, this is scene 23A that they're filming. And they work with the director to make sure it says the right thing on the slate. It's called a slate. And they clap it. It makes a clap sound when they do that in front of camera. And I don't know if I did it or not. Yeah, I've done it before. I worked on movies where I operated the slate. And I've directed movies. I'm a real director. I'm actually a really good director. I'm actually a really good film director and actor. I'd like to get in better shape. I'm a really good film director and actor after doing almost every other job on a movie set. It's too bad they got the bunnies. They didn't get them. My wife and kids got them. You know, the guy who came to pick them up or whatever. He was nice. He was a pretty good person. But it's good that my wife and kids got the bunnies instead of me, because the kids love the bunnies. And so here's the cool thing about a movie set. There are all the various movie jobs. And I have a book on this if you want to learn how to make your own movie or how to make big studio movies in Hollywood. You can learn everything you'd like to know about how to make movies that you'd read from my book. It's called How to Be a Filmmaker, and it's really good. It tells it's the best how-to filmmaking book that there is for learning how to make your own films the best that you're able to possibly make them, for reading only one book. Unless you want to read many books, but when you read this book, you'll know how to be a filmmaker. It's called How to Be a Filmmaker by John Birmingham. This is not a book. This is a video. They're two different things. They're two different kinds of things. And so a video is way different from a movie, unless the video is like a no-budget kind of movie, you know, or a documentary or something like that you don't need a big budget to usually do, unless you are really acquiring the rights to some huge stuff, and you know, the studios do documentaries too. Those have historically been some of the best films there are. And so documentary is another genre of film. It's not like a narrative film that has the storytelling and stuff in it that's really good. It's a narrative feature film. It tells a story, and somebody wrote the story, and it's usually fiction. It can be based on an idea or your own original idea. I suggest all your own original ideas so you own it, and you don't have to worry about the paperwork and securing the rights, like an actor release, music release, those things. You have to get all the actors to sign a release form that I did on all my movies. I got every actor who was in front of camera to sign an actor release form, and any music I used in the movie, I had to get cleared from the actual people who wrote the music and stuff. And it's called a music deal or music license, and you have to get all the musicians to allow you to use, not every last musician, but who owns the music. You have to get them to agree to let you use the music, and you might have to pay them. And that's why it gets expensive when you start making a real movie. So it costs a budget. Usually the real most professional, best movies made are all studio movies, and some big budget indie movies that get acquired by the studios. And they're really good. And I miss work. I don't know. And so it's not about acting like some cool guy walking down Hollywood Boulevard like a tourist or anyone can do, walking onto Hollywood Boulevard with an iPhone. You know, they make real movies, and they have extras. And the first AD or second AD, the second AD on a bigger movie, is in charge of the extras, and he tells them what to do and where to go. And sometimes the production assistant can tell them what to do. An extra doesn't need any experience besides a small amount that you learn before you be an extra. And you can be an extra on any movie. Hey, it's my wife. I'm going to go. She's calling. Bye. Praise Jesus.